Thank you very much, man. Thanks for joining me. I saw you on TikTok originally, and I was like looking for stem cell people and people in the longevity space, and I came across you, and I was really sort of like touched by your story, and I think it matched the podcast that I do, which is why I started, or what drives us to make big changes in our life and to drive it to something great. And in your instance, it seemed like it was your accident that drove you to sort of be a better man. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like I was right out of high school, 17, young, dumb, and arrogant, and then went out, bought a street bike, and not even a month later, got into a real bad wreck in the rain and woke up to a completely different life. So with paralysis, doctors typically diagnose like you're gonna live the rest of your life in this condition, which is great and all, but man, with the pain I was in and everything else associated, I was like, dude, there's no way that I can never figure out how to walk again. I walked for how many years? Like how can I not do this? So after years of just questioning and trying to figure out different ways or alternative routes, I came about stem cells, and so looked into it, did my own due diligence, and said, well, this looks like the only viable option to at least try. So went out to Reju Medical in Minnesota. And dude, within the first 6 months, I started to notice some pretty decent, I can't say returns, but I guess I started to notice changes. And so with that, I was like, man, what happens if I go do another round? And man, 2 rounds of stem cells later, and I mean, countless hours of gym and therapy and just trying.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to walk. Yesterday I walked 400 feet in my walker, and I was outside, which is my new record outside. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm starting to notice more changes with the bowel, bladder, just overall connectivity under my injury level, which is relatively high. It's about nipple level down. So, and the more I'm looking into stem cells and the other benefits, it just makes me more and more excited about to see what the future potential possibilities, I guess, could be.
With stem cell medicine.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to delve into that, but let's wind back a little bit. So how old were you when you had your accident?
I was 17.
You're 17, and you're 23 now?
24, just 24, yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Oh, it's good to have you on your birthday day, pretty much. So for a while when that first happened, you were like, what are my options? You probably didn't just know about stem cells straight away.
Oh, no.
And, just before the camera started rolling, we were chatting a little bit about, you were probably like a skinny little guy.
Oh, dude.
And you're like, dude, I need to start learning how to bulk up a little bit.
Yeah, I figured out, like, okay, so after coming home from the accident, man, I was super depressed, really just in my head, and I was a scrawny, scared kid, and basically just had a friend who, a real good friend still to this day, he was like, man, look, it's going to be a lot harder for you to maneuver throughout your day. You only work with 25% of your body. Like, you want to try to come to the gym with me and try it out, and dude, I was so reluctant. I didn't like the gym to begin with, prior to my accident. And so I reluctantly went to the gym with him. I was the outcast, or I felt like I stuck out like a broken thumb, But I got into it, and I said, well, like as soon as I left the hospital, my whole mindset and my only mission was to walk again. But all the doctors, experts, therapists were like, you can't just do that. And I'm like, but I can.
So you weren't really you must have been in a dark place for a bit.
Oh,
but
very.
But you were like, nah, I'm gonna get to a better performance than I am right now.
My thought was I have to there's got to be another way. There's got to be an alternative for me to live a better life, and that's what got me into fitness. I said, well, if I could break down and rebuild my upper body muscles, why can't I with my lower body muscles? So I would go and try on these leg machines, and bro, my legs wouldn't move; they would dangle, and that's even more heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I guess after doing that long enough and just making friends at the gym is whenever I met another friend who was a paralyzed bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And he educated me on training, diet, supplements, the whole 9 yards. Kind of gave me just little ideas and taught me to question everything. So whenever the stem cell conversation was brought up to me, I questioned it. So I dove into, research and what are stem cells, the potentials, blah, blah, blah. And dude, there was like very few to no research about it in correlation with paralyzed people and it being a solid benefit. So I was like, I did enough research and came across one case from Reju Medical.
Yeah.
He was a quadriplegic seeing good results. So I was like, you know what, let me just try it. In my mind, $10,000 is like that or a new car. I'd rather my legs than a new car. So I went out with it and tried and came back and got back to work and slowly but surely started to see a little bit of progress, positive signs of results.
Because that's the thing with our health, isn't it? Is like it all comes into perspective when you want to get better. And I
Right.
think that's the thing with that people are seeing with regenerative medicine is that the opportunity they can have to get better or
Right.
reduce the pain, and they want to know what options are out there. So you were going into the gym, you're working out, you're starting to get a little bit, okay, this is looking good.
Yeah.
Okay, and you met this bodybuilder guy, and he's like, dude, like, there's lots of stuff you can do. And so you started seeing probably body results. You probably felt you could lift yourself a lot
Right,
better and things like
right.
that. And then, so then you got to a point, how did you find out about stem cells and about regenerative medicine? When was that revelation happening?
So, man, this was probably, within the first year or so after my accident. Anybody that would come talk to me, the only thing that I would tell them, hey, look, I'm going to walk in. And they're like, well, how do you want to do that? I'm like, I have no clue, but that's what I'm dead set. My heart was stuck on that. And so enough of bringing that up around my buddy Nathan, the paralyzed bodybuilder, he said, man, you ever looked into stem cells? And he kind of roughly explained to me, our bodies are made of cells. These stem cells, in theory, are new cells meant to help your body repair and wherever you're lacking. And so I said, well, let me start looking into it, which is kind of what got me into it. But if you go and Google, stem cell and paralyzed things, I didn't find very many positive results at that far in. It was honestly a lot more people trying to say it was a ripoff and it wasn't going to work for paralyzation and
Who was
spinal
saying that?
injuries. Oh, I'm just talking about online.
Just generally, like what you saw
like
online.
that was the main results I was finding. And like I said, I kept looking and found I think it was off of Instagram, a guy, was talking about his story, and he was showing the results that he was getting, and they weren't nothing crazy, but it was a quadriplegic starting to get hand function back. I'm like, hey, that's pretty big. So I reached out to him, got to talking. He, told me about the Reju Medical and all their practices, procedures, got me in contact with him. And after talking to him, and I'd sent all my medical files and whatnot to him, to the doctors, and they let me know. They said, look, the doctor says he thinks it could be a positive benefit for you in X, Y, and Z. And so I went with it, and I was just learning about credit and finances at that point in my life. I was probably my first year in college while I was learning all this. I just built the credit, and I just got my credit line, so I went out and bought stem cells and just, came back home and started getting back to work.
So have you heard of Christopher Reeves before? Did he
Yes.
come up in your research? So Christopher...
Well, not much at the beginning, but after I, started telling people, oh, look, I got these stem cells. Man, look, you need to look into this Christopher Reeves guy. Honestly, I didn't really know much about him until
You're a bit young for him, aren't you?
Exactly,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, he was the Superman, and he had the whole accident on it. He got bucked off a horse. And then, and he was one of the people, from what I understand, was one of the people that was like trying to bring stem cells to the forefront to use in these ways. And he was seeing positive results. I think it was, something killed him a bit early, but it wasn't his procedure or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So that came up in your research when you were looking at it?
No. It was more or less, like I said, my buddy, the guy, I think, man, I forget it was Wyatt. His name was Wyatt. That was the guy off Instagram that I found. And like I said, I still keep up with him to this day. And he's, he's seeing good results, but I feel like in these kind of cases, it's really like you're going to get the results from the work you put in. And I just don't know him on a personal level to know how much he's doing on therapy and whatever, so on and so forth. But he's a mechanic, so he likes to do work with cars and stuff. And I know now he's able to, grab wrenches and sockets and stuff, which is huge for a quadriplegic to be able to grab and maneuver small objects like that. Like that's night and day. But I feel like the main thing about stem cells is, their aim is to get you at a better quality of life, and that's going to look different for everyone. Yeah. I know a lot of friends that they couldn't care less about walking again. They just want to be able to, use the restroom normally or do something very small, minimalistic. So not all of us have these really crazy big expectations like I do, but I'm just I've kind of got a mentality for it. It's like a do or die, all or nothing. So I'm going for it all,
Yeah, and a lot of people who have stem cells, aren't as badly injured, and it's seeing really, really good results with those types of things. And people are using it for just age reversal as well.
Yes.
And that's pretty crazy to see that.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of longevity that'll bring with just like the human race as a whole. Because it was like I was watching something yesterday. The first emperor of China, you know how he died? He died from his pursuit of immortality.
Immortality. Yeah.
So he got his doctors to figure out a way to get him immortal life.
I did see this.
And dude, they were giving him mercury water. He was
Yeah.
drinking mercury and poisoned himself. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's crazy to think, this guy literally died trying to find immortality. And I'm not saying stem cells are that,
No.
but I mean, they're a lot more longevity, than mercury is at least.
And that's the thing with like longevity. People think it means to live forever or live longer. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Like most of the decline that people have is in the last 10 years of their life. They're capable, they're walking, they're driving, whatever. And then in the last 10 years is where they lose all their, that generational wealth that they've built up because they're spending it on care homes. So if we can be more functioning as a society, as a person when we're in our older age, that's longevity as well, a better quality of life.
Yes.
And the inflammation reduction that stem cells can bring is one of those things that can help with a lot of that as well, along with all these other things. There's that guy on TikTok and Instagram, and I can't think what his name is. We could probably bring it up on the screen or something. He looks like a vampire, but he's like in his 50s, but he looks like a 17-year-old boy.
Really?
Yeah, and I watched an interview the other day with them, and they were saying how an interviewer was asking him, are you not scared that this might be like the mercury, type thing? And he's like, no, we're doing a lot of testing and things, and no, all the things I'm doing is probably a lot more preventative than anything anyone else is doing. And so you get longevity medicine, but you also get preventative. That's where medicine's going now, is doing preventative things as well to heed off age and being decrepit.
And keep that quality of life, like you said, because that's at the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want to be able to live the same life we once were. Before my accident, I was pretty pain free and really not appreciative for it. But man, once you get into these type of incidences or accidents, I was in all kind of nerve pain, so many spasms, all these new medicines, all these things that were foreign to me at the time. But I still do not like it. I don't want to take 10 different pills just to have the same day that I previously did. That's just not right. Whereas stem cells, like for me, they definitely helped a little bit with pain management, as well as the mental boost that it gives you. Being able, for me, it's like I was in a real depressed funk, but then now that I'm seeing my dreams start to come to reality, I'm walking, I'm seeing all this progress. That helped my mental health transform 9 day, did a whole 180. And I don't think the stem cells necessarily help with that, but they did help with it, if that makes any sense.
It does, and it's got to feel pretty good now that you're getting into bodybuilding now, right? So you were telling me about this off camera. You got to tell us now.
Yeah. So I accidentally stumbled on my way into a bodybuilding. Well, not really. I've been in the gym for so many years because whenever I'd first gotten the accident, and I found I'd start working out, getting stronger. Met the Paralyzed. My friend, he was like he taught me to challenge and question everything. So I went and did so much research on anatomy, the kinesiology of it, and the actual training side of things. Mm-hmm. So with that, I just kind of fell in love with the whole thing, with fitness as a whole. The routine, the schedule, the consistency that I could bring, and the way it made me feel. If I constantly go to the gym and work out, I'm gonna get a little bit stronger every time, and I fell in love with that process. So I began working at one of the local gyms. This was, a couple of years ago. And so I would go from therapy to school to the gym, and then stay at the gym from, noon till 10 o'clock at night, eat my lunch, work out, and, work. And people would get so freaking amped up behind. They're like, dude, why are you in the gym all day? Do you live here? And it's like, man, I might as well. Because they saw the ambition and just the work ethic, and they knew that I was very hopeful that the more I would grind, the closer I get to this goal, and it's slowly starting to happen. But with that, I came to the revelation. I said, well, I'm in the gym all the time, why not make a brand, see if I can motivate and inspire more, because people will get so amped up when they see, a person like me just in there working to try to better their situation. Yeah. So I said, well, why not put a name to it? People aren't going to remember Sam Primeaux as easily as another name, and I have a big gorilla tattoo, and so whenever people would ask me, man, what's your driving force? It's like, I don't know, it's my inner animal, I guess. I guess I look at it as like a spirit animal or something, but that's kind of how it started I started to think about it, the brand and whatnot, and I just went from there and said, well, I'm going to make a company and brand, and started learning. But with that, it's gotten me so involved in the fitness community. Mm-hmm. I started to see some really good changes. I mean, dude, I've spent the past 5.5 years pretty consistently in the gym, in dieting, training, whatever. So I started to build up a pretty good physique. And people are like, man, you're pretty jacked. And I don't see it. I'm a very, I guess, humble person. But after hearing it enough times, and I'd gotten the opportunity to compete in a bodybuilding competition, I was like, why not? You know, worst case scenario, I just get to go stand on stage and just have a good time. And actually didn't place too bad. Standing alongside just normal men that had no.
That's the key thing, man. Standing beside, man.
Standing beside him. That's the crazy part. That you know, and I still did good. I came in 5th in open and 5th in physique, which is pretty cool.
I think it's better than I would do.
But yeah, man, it's like my pursuit for my better health and fitness, you know, our health and physique, all came from just wanting a better life, better quality of life, and that's I feel like the best part of the gym is, you know, if you go in there and you're really just bettering yourself. And
that's so true. And I think there's a couple of points there, but one of them was that you said that, like, about your inner animal and stuff. We all make excuses why we can't go in the gym, why we can't start a business. By the way, you've done both of them so far. But like, you know, but when you see someone like, okay, this guy, it's harder for him to get out of his car and get into the gym, and he's still doing it. What the heck am I doing?
Right.
Like, I need to get my inner animal kind of going.
Exactly. You know, and I feel like it's something that we all have. We all have this potential inside of us to go out and accomplish great things, but so many of us find so many ways because, you know, we have problems, we have excuses, we have, you know, just a chaotic world we live in. So I'm just one of those people that kind of chooses to look at the execution side versus the excuses side, and it's starting to show some pretty cool results. So
yeah. The other thing I like that you said was what your friend said about questioning everything. I think the last 5 years or 3 years, I think people are questioning medicine more than ever before, and questioning narratives than ever before. So it's good that you're sort of promoting that as well. Like, you know, questioning, maybe I shouldn't just believe everything that I'm fed. Right. Is there other options available other than pharmaceuticals?
Right. Oh, dude, I tell everybody, look, question it all. Do your research. You know, stem cells help me. They might not help every condition. I really don't know just yet. But I'm very intrigued in learning more about it and seeing the potentials. You know, I've had people reach out and say they're getting cancer treatments and all these other diabetes and other stuff. And like, dude, I really hope it starts to show positive effects on these things because, I mean, it's not.
They've had stem cells for those things. Yeah. So I've seen that for leukemia before, like a stem cell treatment.
Yeah, and I've seen it for leukemia. I want to say it was like type 2 diabetes.
No, there's a doctor we're working with through one of my companies called Dr. Shao, and he's doing type 1 diabetes treatments.
That's awesome.
And with an FDA trial attached to it, and it's seeing amazing results. We've actually had, my friend Reese went through that. Shout out Reese. And we, I don't want to say too many more names. Reese is okay with saying it, but we've had some other people that we've been sending to their clinic and getting treatment, and they're starting to come off their meds.
That's amazing, man. Actually, I've sent a couple people out to read you, and they come back and they reach out and they say, all right, like, what do I do next? And I'm saying, look, this is what I did. You know, this is the type of workouts and stuff I tried, and I'm getting people that are seeing some pretty cool results. So, man, it's really nice to be able to just point y'all in direction. All I want to do at the end of the day is say, look, this is what I did. These things worked. These things didn't. What you want to do with that is, you know, it's up to you. But I remember how scared and of a diagnosis this is, and how scary this new way of life is. So for me to be able to just at least offer and show people, hey, look, these things worked. These things didn't. I think it's going to save a lot of people time and trouble and heartache. Because at the beginning, it's like it's a really scary way to live, and then with no hope, it's a whole lot scarier, you know.
Yeah, and when we spoke the first time on that phone that time, you were saying that just in people in your general area, like I'm from Austin, so well, not originally, as you can probably tell, but in Austin, people are a bit more open-minded to try stuff. There's a lot of ketamine clinics springing up in Austin. There's a lot of alternative medicines, but here in Baton Rouge and places like that, you're finding that people are a bit more closed off to it.
Way more closed off.
Why do you think that is? Because surely they're just as skeptical of big pharma as the rest of us.
I think the biggest thing for people, at least locals, is the price versus the promise. Like, stem cells do not offer you any promise. There's no. I don't know. I haven't talked to any stem cell doctors that'll say, yep, this will guarantee fix whatever you got going on. They're going to say, hey, it's going to help your body recover in ways that might maybe, you know, help your situation. But there is no guarantee. So someone says, man, I'm not going to put $10,000 in my health. Okay, then don't. But I'm not going to put $10,000 in surgeries and pain medicines and wheelchairs. Like, I'm tired of it. I think it's bullshit. I think pharmaceutical. Let me not even get into that. You know, the pharmaceutical companies are it's a healed patient has lost profit, in my opinion. But you know, maybe like I don't know. A lot of people are just so closed-minded with the price, but they're quick to go buy a car or go spend a couple $100 in a club or whatever.
Well, that's just the human condition. We want something
Exactly.
that, like, you know, we can just enjoy now. We don't think about longevity, and that's why I said people who are hurt, they're going to be the first people to experience this and benefit from it. And like you said, like stem cells isn't one thing for fixing everything, but it's also, you know, the way the diabetes procedures work is different to what you received, and it's different to my friend who recently had some injections in his hip for his hip issues. It's all different. It's administered different, and the type of one you first got was your own stem cells, right? So that is
from the bone marrow.
From the bone marrow.
I don't know what it's called, like the technical name.
Yeah. So they take it out of your bone marrow. Mm-hmm. Where did they take it from? Yeah.
So they take it from my hip, and then they also take a couple pints of blood. And what they do is they fuse it in this machine, and they take the white blood cells or white blood platelets, and they infuse it with the bone marrow from the stem cells found in your bone marrow. And what they do is they send some shots up and down. My injury is spinal cord injury. So they sent a bunch of shots of, I think it's called Dextrol or something. It causes inflammation near the injury site, so on spinal cord. So they went up and down, all up and down the cerebral back, sent this stuff. So my body's inflamed. The way the doctor explained it to me, inflammation is our way of healing. So it gets our injured area inflamed. So our body's like, okay, look, time to heal it up. So now whenever they come and send these stem cells in, your body says, well, look, these are these platelets and these blood cells. And let's get to combining whatever is not there.
Yeah, because I don't think they do that to everybody, because the area that probably is hurting probably is inflamed, so they don't need to do that.
Right.
But yours wasn't inflamed, so they had to make it inflamed.
This was 3 years after the accident,
Yeah.
so in theory my spinal cord isn't still inflamed, but something's not connecting, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. So that was your own one, but obviously you're 22 years young at that point, 21 years young, and your stem cells have diminished from when you were first born.
Right.
And so the next thing for you is you're going to try and do umbilical cord and placenta sort of base.
Yeah, so the next facility I'm talking to, which I'm really hopeful that I'm able to go out there. It seems like they're able to get their stem cells from, you know, C-section after the mother gives birth.
Yep.
They get it from the placenta, so it's got happy, healthy mama and baby, and then they got brand new 0-day-old stem cells. And in other countries, it's unfortunate we can't in America, but they're able to, you know, put them on the white. I mean what are the?
It's the modifications that I
well they set it out on the petri dishes, and they're able to multiply naturally. So in Minnesota, I was able to get, say, 1 million stem cells, whereas overseas I'll be able to get 100 million stem cells, which, you know, not rocket science. One is less than 100. So in theory, you're getting 0-day-old stem cells that are brand new. And, you know, multiply times 100, it would only help 10 times more, in my opinion, you know. So that's what I'm really intrigued to go out and see what it does.
So how did you, like, obviously you wanted to, like, get the money, you just used a credit card or something to just pay for these things.
Yeah, I was literally just building credit at the time.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was working a job, you know, paying me $8 an hour. I was like, man, I'm going to be working a long time to get $10,000 just to go try. But, well, I learned about how finances work and how leveraging credit works. So I got a Care credit card and went out and spent it. And I started to see the progress, and that caused so much of a stir in the local community. They were like, what the heck? You know, they're able to help fundraise and continue on the procedures, which benefited me crazy. I mean, I would have never been able to just out of pocket and go, here's 10 grand and, you know, go try it out.
Because that's quite a bit. Like, obviously it varies in pricing, but like yours is a very specialist issue, so it's going to be up there, I guess.
Right, and I'm sure for like smaller injuries and stuff, it might not be as expensive. And
it starts from about 5,000 normally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you needed quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say I needed the Mag Daddy treatment.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. And so the next one you're going to go to is out of country,
right?
And it's big money. But that's the plan of action to go and get that.
Yeah. So at BioAccelerator, not only do they offer 100 times the amount of stem cells and 0-day-old stem cells, we are going to be doing a lot more testing. That's like bladder testing. That's nerve regenerative testing. That's you know, they basically want the data to be able to show and prove that it's going to help and do what it needs to do. And I'm just kind of one of those oddball cases because of my, I guess, mindset and my work ethic towards it. But man, between that and the team of the specialty team that he'd be around, I feel like it's going to be a much better sign of progress than the previous place. So I'm super freaking stoked about it.
That's really awesome.
And I mean, being 6 years out post injury, the surgeons I am talking to, you can kind of tell they have an eyebrow raise. They're like, "You've been trying for how long?" You know, they don't see people normally recover this far out, much less just try to recover this far out. So I think that's kind of what makes me so much different from everyone else trying.
Yeah. You've definitely got a drive in you.
Yeah, that's my inner animal.
It's your inner animal.
You know?
How so? Yeah, with the clothing stuff, is that going to help you? Like, the more people buy your clothing,
Right.
the more.
Oh man, the clothes helps a ton, and I think the message is going to help a lot more because we have a lot of companies out here selling inspirational, sports brands and stuff. But what's inspirational about their T-shirt? Nothing. But if I could figure out how to put inspiration on the shelf, and if someone could put on a piece of my clothes or use one of my products and just be able to feel amped up and want to go out and achieve their own greatness, I feel like that's going to be something that's going to, stick around for a lot longer than Sam Primeaux will. It'll be a household name one day. But man, I was very naive whenever I first started all this. I'm like, I'm going to make a company to fund my stem cells. Well, little did I know, making a company, you're going to have to fund the company.
Yeah.
So, it's a learning curve, but it's kind of like fitness. It challenges me, but the more work and effort I put into it, the better this outcome is. So it's a no-brainer,
So how are you selling your merch at the moment?
So everything's done online mainly. I have inneranimalshop.com, and just if you look up on social media, Inner Animals or Inner Animal Experience, that's all me. And so we're doing that. We also do a lot of events locally. Like we have some awesome gyms that have just opened up. We'll do events with them or weightlifting competitions, bodybuilding competitions, however. And we're also wanting to start releasing some new products soon. So I'm kind of in the design phase, but I want to start getting in on the therapeutic tool side of things. And I'm figuring I've put in so much time working with these therapists, these doctors, and such like that I have kind of an insight on knowledge in that area. I went to college and have a degree for AutoCAD, which is basically drawing house plans.
Yeah.
So I'm not an engineer, but I could kind of look at something and understand the engineer side of it. And I have a friend that's an engineer. So I'm going to kind of try to put all these pieces together. And there's a couple pieces I use, like the wheelchair, for instance. So, I use the wheelchair every day, and how can I make it better? And same with my walker and some other things. So we're going to get into this design phase pretty soon and start trying to figure out how we could innovate the therapeutic side of things on that forefront as well.
So for people who use wheelchairs, or just people who have got any disability, or just
any type of I guess how they call that, mobility, like
issues?
mobility aids or issues, would be cool. Like, if we could offer them walkers or canes or whatever it may be, that'd be cool. At the end of the day, I just want to try to leave the world a little bit better than I found it. So however that looks. But my heart, I think, is pulling me mostly towards the paralysis, spinal cord injury, stem cells arena, because I remember how scary of a time that was whenever I didn't have any hope. So if I can at least give them hope and the tools to optimize it, it's a no-brainer,
That's amazing. So you're basically, I don't know if you know this, but you're an entrepreneur at this point. At this point, that wasn't the plan.
Not at all,
The plan, when you came out of high school, you were like, you did already have your place in college to go and do engineering and the AutoCAD stuff.
Right. Well, so actually, before I had gotten into my accident, I was, just graduating. I was doing manual labor and stuff. I was doing landscaping and stuff like that. Just hard labor, and as I would make an income, after being paralyzed, I realized, okay, obviously I don't have the physical attributes to go out and make money. How do I make a living? That was my first question, was like, okay, how do I become less of a burden on those around me? And so I went to school shortly after that. It was really good to start teaching me structure again and kind of get me out of the house. And man, so I was a really big blessing. So I started going to school, and whenever the school idea started to be about, a thought in the air, we're like, well, what am I going to go to school for? Growing up, I was always really interested in designing and stuff like that. So in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do AutoCAD. I'll be able to, design houses. Little did I know that was architecture, which would have, been another 4 or 5 years of schooling. So
It's like 7 years at architecture.
Yeah, I was like,
brutal.
nah, man, I'm not that interested in schools.
Yeah, so you've got the in-animal stuff now. Like, so you're selling stuff. You're selling your merch online through social media. Social media seems to be growing quite nicely, and you're doing like affiliate-based stuff, I think, as well, aren't you? With like one of these stem cell locations.
Yeah, well, I loosely call it affiliate. Really, just plugging people in. And same with like my walker, for instance. I just got donated a $20,000 walker.
Sick.
Griot, just because I've been able to make content with it. People in similar situations are like, what the heck is this thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I explain to them, hey, like, this is what it is, this is what it does. And so if they go out and they're able to get it, their insurance or whatever can cover it, then great. Well, I was just making posts, man. I wasn't trying to sell anything on anybody. But I've been getting a lot of DMs and messages and stuff. And so I've gotten enough that the representative that brought me the Griot to try it as a demo, she's like, dude, you sold like 5 of these things. And I'm like, well, okay, what do you want me to, And so they ended up donating the device to me, man. So I'm able to take it home and really put in some extra time in it. So that's actually how I've been seeing so much fast progress lately. Like, dude, at my other therapy center, I'm blessed to be able to go to 2 therapy centers. One, my buddy Scott that I just met at the gym, he trains me once a week for free. And we've come so far with that. My insurance initiated therapy as well, like brought therapy back. And so I'm able to do 2 days therapy covered insurance. So I do 3 days of therapy a week. And now we're able to bring the Griot to the one where it's 2 times
The
a week.
Griot is this walker thing.
Yeah.
What makes it so badass?
So the way it's designed is there's a harness underneath it that allows you to be fully secured. In a sense, like as I get tired, we can adjust the height of it or whatever, so my legs are in theory holding less weight, or to be able to mobilize. And with the walker, it's just you and your walker. You need a therapist around with a belt on you just for stability reasons. Whereas with the Griot, you don't need it. It's basically just a mobility device designed to try to start getting someone who can't walk by themselves. Give them a little more endurance training, I guess. They're able to walk longer distances. And so for me, I was whenever I'd first gotten it introduced to me, I was barely able to use a normal walker, maybe 50 feet at a time, and my knees would buckle. And if it wasn't for my therapist sitting there catching me, I wouldn't be able to make it very far. Whereas with this thing, it's like, okay, my knees can buckle all they want. I'm just going to be still in this walker. I'm fully secured.
Yeah.
So that was a complete game changer. But I think for me personally, it was a mental shift. My body knows, okay, look, we're safe, bro. We can go. And that I'm able to put out a lot more output. And so we've seen, crazy, awesome the reciprocal pattern, the gait pattern or whatever to walk. I've been able to start really practicing and honing down on that to understand, okay, these are the signals I need to, fire for this and this and this. And at the end of the day, all it is like repetition is the father of definition. So it's like, if you do it enough, you're going to figure it out, so enough repetition, I'm hopeful to just relearn and be able to figure out those commands to maneuver like I once did.
Man, 2024 is going to be big for you.
Very, very.
So new product launches, more distance walking with your walker. It's going to be amazing. And hopefully get that stem cell treatment in that location that you want to go to.
I definitely think I will. I got some pretty cool sponsors loading up, so I'm pretty hopeful everything will fall out how it needs to. But I've actually kind of, figured out, I've started to strengthen my spiritual side, and I believe that God's got me on this journey for a reason, and everything's going to play out the way it needs to. So I'm just going to keep grinding when and where I can.
So did your faith grow more when you got hurt, or you've always had a faith?
Oh, I lost faith, honestly, after my wreck. I came to one point where I was always stubborn my whole life. I was kind of, I knew about God. I wasn't super religious growing up. And then the wreck, honestly, made me lose faith. I was like, man, if there's really a God, why would he put me through this kind of situation? And that's kind of where everything started to pivot and turn. And I came into a real dark depression at one point after my wreck. Man, I was ready to just freaking pull the trigger. And my friend, thankfully, that paralyzed bodybuilder, he kind of talked some sense into me. He was like, look, man, whenever people try to set your limits, that's showing their limits, not yours. Because at that time, the therapy center I'd initially, was working with out of the hospital, they dropped me, man. They were like, look, your insurance doesn't want to cover it because we've gotten you to fully sustainable, day-to-day living. And I'm like, but I want to walk. I'm nowhere close to walking. They're like, well, your insurance doesn't care. Like, this is where, You know, the point blank period, this is where they're dropping you. And dude, I was in a dark hole. I was like, man, the only professionals on my team just threw in the towel on me, bro. What do I do? And my buddy Nathan was like, dude, this is where you could show them that that's their limits. These are yours. And it just I was already working out at that time. But with that, I was like, you know what? Fuck the therapist. We're going to do it myself then. And I'd go to the gym and I'd go try again to kick out against those leg machines. And my legs would dangle and I'd be heartbroken. But you know what I would do? I would get off that leg machine, go do the rest of my workout, and go home, come back, do it again, and do it again, and do it until something clicked.
Yeah.
And after about 6 months after that first round of stem cells, is when I got on that leg machine and saw it fire how I needed to, and I was like, what? And it completely
And also, when you do those pull-ups, you look pretty badass.
Lightweight, thank you. Though.
They look pretty badass. And so then your sort of face started coming back in God as well.
Oh, dude, it definitely did. And now as I'm getting older, and the chain of events, the way things are happening in my life, bro, it's like, if there's not God, I don't know who's doing this, because it's not me. I'm literally just winging it. I mean, I've gotten free vacations halfway across the United States for a pair of shorts, for instance. That's the craziest, coolest flex. Shout out Julius. But doing that and just being able to impact and reach the people that I have accidentally. You know, I'm just trying to live my life and get better.
Yeah.
And these people are, reaching out. Like some people, it's like that inspiration that they get from me has completely pulled them out of a darkness. Or that's, I feel like, a blessing in itself. Really. You know, just being able to selfishly just try to improve my way of living, actually in turn make someone else want to go make their life a little better. That's cool,
Yeah, there's that there's that story in the Bible where for people, the Jews in the desert and they getting a bit complacent about the hard times that they're getting in the desert. Right? Are you familiar with this story? And some of my friends here can keep me honest on the storyline, but they're sort of like acting out because it's hard times, and then. They say, look, God, help us with this situation. And what happens? All these snakes, the snakes come. Are you familiar with this story? And the snakes bite them. And Josh off camera here remembers this story. The snakes are biting them, and they're saying, what do we do? What do we do? And they get they create a staff, like a stick with a snake wrapped around it, and they say, face your fears. And that's what makes us stronger. And what is that staff with a stake wrapped around it? That's the medical symbol of a snake wrapped around it.
Right, I was wondering where that came from.
That comes from there, and it's about how we need to, we have to face our fears, and in these adversities comes so much more strength, and that's what you've built in this time, and you brought strength to others by facing that serpent and your inner animal.
Exactly, and it's so crazy. Like it all came about it came about in such a weird way that this wasn't planned. This was literally just me being that scared kid, like you said, facing my fears, and that's starting to become something like. That's going to be a very big superpower or strength, I guess I'll call it, as it starts to develop, and I figure out how to use it and how to grow it.
Amazing, dude. Let's leave it there. Thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate this,
you,
man. And you just really put me on game on a place in my own town. Like I never knew this place was here. So
there you go.
Now I can start using it for podcasts and shit.
You should. It's pretty good. They're really nice people here as well.
She was a sweetie.
Yeah, they're lovely.